watching Who's the Boss. Let's start there. Raise your hands if you don't know what Who's the Boss is. Okay, oh, no judgment. No judgment. Okay, no judgment. If you are a neighbor of someone who just raised their hand, will you please make sure they know it's the greatest 80s show ever? Okay? But I did really want to sound like Alyssa Milano. Sam on Who is the Boss. So you guys tell me. I don't know if Alyssa Milano and I sound the same. That was my goal. I am so excited and so grateful to be with you all today. And one of the reasons is because I love things that smell good. When I got invited to speak here, my husband and my daughter were in the room when I got off the call, and I said, "Oh my God, new candles, everybody!" And my husband and my daughter looked at me and they said, "What about that closet we have that's already stacked with a bunch of candles?" So I'm that person, you all, okay? So I'm in good company. I'm that person, you know, when you walk into a hotel. Does anyone else do this? I walk into a hotel and I go, and it's got to smell good. Anyone else like this? Yeah, and then sometimes it doesn't, and it's sad. But we don't have that problem here. It smells good in the room. You know, smell is actually a really, really special sense. When we smell something, there are neurons in our nose, sensors that send a signal to your brain. There's an olfactory bulb in your brain. You're going to be learning so much neuroscience today. And the part of your brain that senses smell is right next to emotions and memories. And that's why when you smell something from your childhood, right, the memories just flood in, right? And that's why when something smells good, like fresh cut grass or bread baking, that's my favorite smell in the world. Anyone else? Fresh bread baking, oh my goodness, right? It feels really good. Smell is the most direct sense to help us create good memories and feel joy, feel wonderful emotions. So from now on, I want you to know that is what you all do. You all help people create great memories, and you help people feel joy. So if anyone else asks you after this, hey, what do? You'd be like, I'm a joy spreader. Yeah? You're all joy spreaders. That is what you do. You're all awesome humans. And I'm going to tell you exactly what I mean by that. You are all awesome because you have something so meaningful, so wonderful, so unique to contribute, both in the work you do with Scentsy and outside of it. But you're also human, and being human is hard. Anyone with me? Yeah! All right, left side. The right side's like waking up here. Being human is hard. Life is challenging. We have all kinds of challenges, all kinds of difficult emotions we have to learn to embrace. You're human, that means you don't have unlimited energy to do all the things you need to do. It means, all right, the perfectionists in the room, this is going to be a hard one. You're human, so it means you can't do all things perfectly always. Hi, I'm Nataly, and I'm a recovering perfectionist. I'm working on saying this. So, you're awesome and you're human. And the thing that I want you to know is that the only way to unleash your awesomeness, your joy spreading, your uniqueness, is by honoring your humanness. And the best way that I know how to honor your humanness is to fuel your happiness and your joy. And that's why I'm so excited to talk to you about that today. But before we dive in, I have kind of a confession. And the confession is that I'm here as an expert on happiness and emotional fitness, but for most of my life, I really struggled with feeling good. And I want to share a little bit of my journey of what brought me here as an expert today, because it wasn't some graceful learning experience. I learned how to live happier by doing it the wrong way for most of my life. So as you heard in my bio, I grew up in the former Soviet Union. And when I was 13 years old, my parents and I set out to try and come to the United States as refugees. We spent 3 months in refugee settlements in Europe, applying for permission to come, and I have a really special photo to share with you all. Now, I only share this with my close friends. So can we say that 7,000 of us, can we say we're close friends at this point? settlement in Vienna into Italy. And the biggest reason I want to share it is I just want you all to admire my high-waisted pleated pants that are completely back in style. But my proudest part about this photo is my haircut. Now, how many of you were alive in the 80s? All right, how many of you have seen movies about the 80s? All right, this haircut was called the Cascade because when it was so high, it kind of cascaded. And according to my parents, I don't remember doing this, but I tried to sleep without my head touching the pillow after I got this haircut because I really didn't want it to fall. So that's what I'm really proud of in this photo. But I talk about it as a fun thing now, but as you can imagine, it was a really difficult experience. We had nothing. We had no money. We were allowed to bring 6 suitcases. And we were very grateful to get permission to come to the United States as refugees. And we began our American dream in the projects on welfare and food stamps outside of Detroit. And I was 13. Oh, I got Detroit. All right, Detroit. Detroit in the house. I love it. Woo! I love it. That's why I got the University of Michigan t-shirt, because the family that was all right, even better. I love this. Yeah. How fun, and you guys are right here. I love it. So I was 13 years old. I didn't speak English. I mean, I was really, really lost. And the only thing I remember, I just wanted to feel better. I wanted to feel happy. And so I had one thing going for me. I was always a really, really hard worker. And so I decided that if I worked really hard and achieved a lot of things and became successful and took care of my family, then I'd be happy. And I began to live my life with this "I'll be happy when" mantra. Now, raise your hand if you ever catch yourself thinking, "I'll be happy when." I think everyone's hands should be in the air because it's very human. We all think, "I'll be happy when." I'll be happy when I redecorate my house or move to a different house or get a different job or meet my dream partner or lose weight or gain weight or whatever it is, right? Think about how often you think, "I'll be happy when." So I really thought, I'll be happy when I build a successful career, I'm able to take care of my family. And for the next 20 years, I worked really hard and I achieved a lot of my "I'll be happy wins." I did. I learned to speak English by watching Who is the Boss and lots of other shows on repeat. I built a very successful career. I was able to take care of my parents and my family. And every time I achieved something, it felt really great. And I was really proud of it. I still am. But then after a while, it was like the happiness bubble just popped. And I didn't feel happy anymore. So my answer was, okay, I'm just not doing enough. I'm not accomplishing enough. I am not good enough yet. So I pushed myself harder. I worked more. I accomplished more things. And I really did think that happiness was this euphoric state that waited for me once I had only done enough things. Well, I didn't get to the euphoria. And instead, 7 years ago, I suffered a really debilitating burnout. And I can honestly tell you, I've done really hard things in my life, but I can honestly tell you it was the darkest and hardest thing that I've ever gone through in my life. I came very close to losing everything that was meaningful to me, from my family to this company that I built, my health. But there was a blessing in my burnout because I learned a really powerful and important lesson, the lesson that I'm here to share with all of you. I learned that you cannot achieve happiness by anything you do on the outside. That happiness is something you have to cultivate on the inside. Happiness is a skill that all of us can practice and improve. And that was a life-changing lesson for me, and it's why I do what I do. It's why I'm here with you today to share with you 5 happier skills that when you practice them, and they're really simple to practice, you feel more joy, you feel happier, and you can choose to feel that and practice them at any moment. There's nothing you have to achieve. There's no one you have to become. All right, are you ready to learn the 5 happier skills?
Yes.
I don't know, are you ready? Okay, that's more like it. it, it is not possible that anything on the outside, anything you achieve, buy, can ever make you happy. I don't want you to just take my word for it. It's nothing about you, it's how the human brain functions. So we're going to learn two things about the human brain that make it impossible for anything on the outside to make you happy. The first thing I want you to know about your brain is it's very adaptable. And that's a good thing, right? There's a lot of change in life, your brain gets used to things, that's great. But the downside of that is, let's say there's this thing that you really want that you think will make you happy, and you work really hard and you achieve it, and for a while you feel happy, and then your brain just goes, well, this is not new anymore and exciting, this is just normal. And it stops releasing dopamine and serotonin. Those are two chemicals the brain releases that make you feel good. So your brain gets used to that new shiny thing, and it's just the new normal. Think about it. You know, maybe it's a new job, or maybe it's a new pair of jeans, and you're like, oh, when I wear them, when I buy this pair of jeans, I'll be so happy. And for a while, you feel great. And then your brain's like, this is just normal. I call this the curse of the moving baseline, right? Think about it. You think that thing out there for me was, okay, once I'm able to be the breadwinner for my family, then I'll be happy. And I worked so hard, and I got there, and I felt really great for a while, and then my brain was like, okay, let's move the baseline. This is the new normal. Now, Natalie, now what's the next thing? So that's one thing you have to know about your brain. This curse of the moving baseline means your brain gets used to anything from the outside, and after a while it says, this is not making me happy anymore. But it gets worse. Because the other thing you need to know about your brain is it has what's called a negativity bias. Negativity bias means that all of our human brains, all of your brains, focus much more on what's negative than what's positive, right? Think about it, how often there's things that are wonderful, but your brain's like, oh, this thing is wrong. So not only is this thing that you really thought would make you happy kind of now just regular, your brain now goes, oh, let me think about all the things that are wrong with it. I'm going to give you a great example from my own life. So when we moved into our house, I live outside of Boston. Got any Boston in the house? We got a little Boston, all right, Massachusetts? Okay, we got a little bit, all right. So when we moved into our house, and it was an old house, and all the appliances were old, and the fridge was really loud. You know, like when the fridge just makes the like horror noises? That was our fridge. And I would sit in the kitchen and I'd be like, oh my God, I'll be so happy when we get rid of this fridge. I'll be so happy when we get a new fridge. And then eventually, after a couple years, we got a new fridge. And it was silent. It was the most beautiful thing in the world. And then one day I was sitting in the kitchen and I hear this other little noise, like because now the fridge is so quiet, I can hear the dishwasher. All right? And then I'm like, saying to my husband, I'm like, oh my God, the dishwasher is too loud, right? But think, some of you are laughing at me. All of you should be laughing at me. But think about what happened, right? This thing that I thought would make me so happy, a quiet fridge. It did for a while, but then not only did I get used to it, I found something else that was annoying. That is adaptability and negativity bias at work. Think about, your own example, right? And when I was talking to an audience the other day, and someone said, oh my God, I now get it. I said, can I tell everyone? She said, well, my husband and I have been married for a year, and we really was love at first sight, and I was so excited to get married. Yeah, you know where this is going. Yeah, she's like, and now all I am is just annoyed with all these things he does, the way he chews, the way he leaves food. Adaptability and negativity bias, all right? Now you know. Hopefully we helped some of the spouses and partners here. Yeah, I always remember this. I always think of my husband. I'm like, okay, I should notice fewer annoying things. But this is how the human brain works, and this is why nothing on the outside can ever give you lasting happiness. And this is why we have to think of happiness as a skill that we practice. So now it's time to talk about the 5 happier skills. Now are you really ready? Woo! Okay. I don't know, you guys, the right side is a little more ready. mic check Keith, who is in charge of this whole production. I said, Keith, how wide can I walk the whole stage? He said, yeah, sure. He said, in fact, I dare you to touch each of these rails. Keith, this is for you. Are you guys with me? When someone dares you. All right, we've done it. Keith, I hope you're watching. Because he was like, yo, no, you're not going to do that. Yeah, watch me. Thank you. I'm that person. You do not want to dare me to anything. Because I'll do the dare. Woo! Out of breath a little. All right. I'm a walker, not a runner. Raise your hand if you run for fun. Let me see the weirdos. No. I say this with love. But I just don't understand it. It's a form of physical torture. Thank you. I take a 5-mile walk every morning, but I just ran, a very short distance. I'm out of breath. All right, let's talk about the 5 happier skills. Skill number 1, acceptance. All right, I got to tell you something. I used to hate this word. I used to hate people be like, oh, accept things as they are. I thought acceptance meant like, whatever happens, happens. Just let life go on. I hated that. I'm a refugee, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a fighter. I hated that. Well, I was wrong. That is not what acceptance means. Acceptance is not about being passive. Acceptance means that you acknowledge things as they are instead of resisting things, right? This is not how it should be. How often do you think this is not how it should be? Okay? So it means you acknowledge things as they are, and then you ask yourself, given how something is, what's the best way that I can move forward? These are the two things. So you acknowledge how something is. I'm going to give you a great example. And you say, given how this is, maybe this is a highly imperfect situation. What's one thing I could do to move forward with less struggle? I'm going to give you a great personal example. So, as I mentioned, I take a 5-mile walk every morning. That's kind of my Zen space. And I live in Boston, where winters are horrible. And even though I grew up in Russia, I really hate the cold. I really do. Yeah, please don't come visit Boston in the winter. None of you are invited. You're only invited starting in April. So all winter, I freeze on my walks. I use lots of bad words every time I walk, but I do it. But then April comes, and April is usually beautiful and much warmer. But sometimes the weather changes, and so every April this happens. I come outside, and I'm in my, I put away my coat, I put away my scarf, I come outside, and it's cold. What's the first thing I think? This is not how it should be. I stand there outside my house and go, this is not how it should be. It should not be this cold in April. It's April, it should be warmer. I get really riled up because the weather, something I cannot control, is not how I think it should be. You know then what I do? I go on my phone and I check the temperature in Santa Barbara. Because that makes a lot of sense. Well, Santa Barbara's always nice, but I stand there freezing, bitching about the weather. I'm like, look, if I lived in Santa Barbara, it'd be warmer. And this is helpful to my happiness how? Yeah, no, it says, please be laughing. I'm giving you the example of how we often cause ourselves a lot of suffering and struggle because something that is out of our control is not how it should be. And yes, we can apply this to our partners and spouses as well, since we're on that thread, okay? But think about how many times the weather, or a colleague, or a person in your life, or the car rental service person, something is not how it should be. Think about how you immediately go into what I call the valley of struggle. The valley of struggle is the distance between how something is and how you think it should be. So acceptance is your way out of struggle. So take my example, I'm standing outside, I'm freezing, April, it's not how it should be. I checked the temperature in Santa Barbara. I've caused myself more struggle. How would I practice acceptance? Well, it's cold in April. What's one thing I could do to move forward? Let me go and get a scarf. Yeah, thank you. Let me go and get a scarf. That's acceptance. And it's a really foundational skill to fuel your happiness because it's making a choice to find a way to move forward with how things are versus waste your energy resisting how things are and thinking about all the ways that they should be different. All right, so acceptance is skill number 1. Skill number 2 is gratitude. Now, I was told that you guys know a lot about gratitude. It's one of the values of Scentsy. Yes. Love it. So I don't have to explain it a lot, but let me just tell you that gratitude is the best way to counter the brain's negativity bias that we talked about, okay? Because gratitude is all about focusing your attention on the small positive moments in your life, in your day, as it is, even when life is challenging, and sharing your gratitude with others. And so your brain's negativity bias is always going, look at this thing that's annoying, look at this thing that's wrong, look at this person, they're annoying. Look. And when you practice gratitude, you go, okay, some things are not great, but let's look at all the things in my life that are okay, that are loving, that are meaningful, that are kind, that are beautiful. And gratitude literally evens out that negativity bias. There are 11,000 different studies that show that when you practice gratitude consistently, it improves your ability to handle stress, it boosts your happiness, it reduces anxiety, it boosts resilience, it even helps you to sleep better. So gratitude is really powerful, but there's one really important thing about it that I do want to tell you. When you practice gratitude, it is so important to be specific, okay? So if I ask you, tell me something you're grateful for. Tell me something you're grateful for. Yell it out. Health.
Being here.
My dog. Family. Job. Scentsy. Someone said coffee. There's my person. Okay. These are all wonderful things, but here's the problem. If every day you practice gratitude and you're like, okay, I'm grateful for coffee, I'm grateful for my family, and I'm grateful for my health, after a couple days to your brain it's going to sound like blah, blah, whatever. Because what did your brain do? It got used to it. It's too general. So the most important thing when you practice gratitude, 2 things actually, I lied, 2 things. Be consistent, do it daily, and be really specific. So instead of saying, I am grateful for coffee, you might say something like, I'm really grateful that before I got on stage, I got a great hot cup of coffee. Instead of saying I'm grateful for my family, you might say, I'm really grateful because my kiddo gave me a hug this morning. When you are specific about your gratitude, it helps you to actually feel the benefit, but it also helps your brain not get used to it. Make sense? I don't know, you guys falling asleep already?
I haven't woken up yet.
Awesome, you're awake. All right, acceptance, gratitude. The third happier skill is self-care. All right, I gotta go on a little rant here because I hate the way that we talk about self-care in our society. It's often presented as like a luxury, something extra, a gift you get to give yourself once you take care of everybody else, once you finish all the things on your to-do list, right? It's like then you can have this gift of self-care. Self-care is not a luxury. Self-care is not a gift. Self-care is a skill of fueling your emotional, mental, and physical energy, okay? Remember, you're all awesome humans, and as human beings, you do not have unlimited energy. This is by the way, I hand drew all these for you, so I hope you guys are loving them. My perfectionist really had to take a back seat, thank you. But all of me too, we all have this limited energy reservoir, right? Emotional energy, mental energy, physical energy. And all the things you do throughout the day take energy. So if you don't do things to intentionally fuel your energy, you will run out. And the other really important part of self-care, so one is fueling your energy, doing things that fuel you. And the other really important part is doing fewer things that unnecessarily drain your energy. Can we talk about those for a moment?
Yes.
Yeah, because those we don't like to talk about. But I'm going to call out some really that we all do that unnecessarily drain our energy. So this is a get honest with yourself moment, okay? Me too. All right, here we go. I'm just gonna rattle off some. Multitasking. Anyone amazing at multitasking here? Raise your hand. Oh, wow. This is impressive. All right. This is, I hope no one has tomatoes or eggs to throw at me. And we're friends. Do you remember? You saw my photo. We're friends. So just, what I'm about to say, I'm going to say with love to all my multitaskers out there, okay? That's a hard no. I borrow this. My daughter is 19, and she started saying this when she was, I think, 15 or 16. I'd be like, Mia, do you want to do this? She'd be like, no, that's a hard no, Mama. So for all of you who just said you're great at multitasking, I say it with love, that's a hard no. For two reasons. One, there's no such thing as multitasking. Actually, no such thing. I know. Nobody throw things at me unless it's a candle. Then you're lucky. The human brain cannot focus on more than one thing at a time. You think it can, but it cannot. And so you can do something like you can drive a car and listen to music, because listening to music is kind of in background. By the way, I hope listening to music is on background, not the driving. But we can do two things at the same time if only one of them requires our attention. But if both things require our attention, you are not multitasking, you are doing what's called switch tasking. You are very quickly switching from your email to cooking dinner, from your email to hanging out with your kid, from thinking about your to-do list right now to listening to me. Do you know that 50% of the time you're thinking about something other than what you're doing? Ouch, right? So half of you are ignoring me right now, as long as it's not the same people all the time, it's great. No, I love when I say this, people look up. So multitasking is a myth. And two problems with multitasking. One, when you're multitasking, you're 25% less effective on each of the tasks. And two, it dramatically drains your emotional, mental, and physical energy. Think about how you feel when you're trying to do a bunch of things at the same time. Don't you feel kind of tense and stressed out? That's why you're asking your brain to do something it cannot do. So doing one thing at a time is a form of self-care. All right, let's rattle off. Let's talk about some other things that we all do that drain our energy. Social media scrolling. Yeah, anyone? Come on, raise your hands. All right, now, just to be fair, I love social media. Instagram and LinkedIn. I'm Nataly, Kogan on both. I hope I have 7,000 wonderful followers after this. My daughter says I'm a good follow, okay? You can't argue with a 19-year-old. I love social media. I'm not saying social media is bad. When you go and engage actively, you share, you comment, you are there to look at your friend's dog. Wonderful. Research shows it actually boosts your mood. What drains your energy and your joy is mindless scrolling. You know, you get into that mode, you're just on there, you don't even know you're there. That's a huge energy drain. So when you find yourself in that scroll, I have a great question for you to ask yourself. Does this make me feel good? Don't yell at yourself. Don't be like, oh my God, Nataly, I can't believe you're scrolling again. Just ask yourself, does it make me feel good? If you are honest, the answer will be no. And the more you ask that question and the more you're honest with your answer, that actually will help you break the loop. All right, one more thing that dramatically drains our energy. Negative self-talk. Negative self-talk. How many of us criticize ourselves? How many of us tell ourselves we're not this enough, not that enough? Yes. Well, do you know that talking to yourself in a negative way drains your energy, increases stress, reduces your motivation? But talking to yourself in a positive, supportive way increases your motivation, boosts your joy, gives you energy. So your self-talk is also part of your self-care. So the next time that inner critic is in there, pause. And my favorite way to counter that is to say, what would I say to my close friend? What would I say to my daughter? What would I say to someone I love? All right? And again, I know we all have this inner critic. I mean, come on. You know, think about it. It's that same negativity bias we have, right? Do you wake up in the morning and go to the bathroom, look in the mirror, and you go, oh, I look amazing today. Amazing. Anyone do that, by the way? There's always someone. Yeah, okay, I have a couple. My heroes. I caught myself in the bathroom this morning. I was getting ready to be with you all. And I was like getting ready and I'm like leaning in. I'm like, oh my God, this wrinkle. Yeah, and then I'm like, oh, I don't know, does this fit right? And I was like, stop! Imagine I was talking to my daughter. What would I say to her? So that's a way that I want you to practice to shift into more positive self-talk. So these are just some ways that we drain our energy. I have a great practice to share with you for how to fuel your energy on a daily basis. Think of a car analogy, okay? I love this analogy. I wrote about it in my book. So a car needs fuel. So I drive a Mini Cooper. It still takes gasoline, so let's just go with that. So my car needs gas to do its job of being a car, right? So when my car is running out of gas, what do? Do I sit there and go, well, I don't know. Does it deserve more gas? Has it done enough to get more gas? No, and if any of you do that, we gotta talk. No, when your car is running out of gas or electricity, you go and fill it up. But what do you do when you're feeling tired? How many of us go, no, come on, just finish this email, finish cleaning up the kitchen, finish this thing. We have to realize that your energy is your fuel. You need energy to do your job of being human, of being awesome human. So this is one of my favorite practices to do once a day. I call it a mini fuel up. And really think of yourself as like you are taking yourself to your energy fuel station, just like you take your car to a gas station. So schedule 10 to 20 minutes on your calendar. That's all it takes, 10 to 20 minutes. And when the time comes, ask yourself, what is something I can do right now, wherever I am, to refuel and refresh? And if at all possible, please go outside for a walk. A 5 to 10 minute walk outside dramatically improves your mood, improves your focus, it boosts your motivation. It is so powerful. If you can't take a walk outside, get up, step away from your screens, move somewhere to a different part from where you're working. Maybe something that fuels you is just closing your eyes for a few minutes or getting a snack or eating chocolate. Chocolate is frequently part of my fuel up. Any chocolate lovers here? Yeah, that's a great fuel up. But be consistent every day. So I don't do this at the same time every day. My calendar is different, so is yours. But at the night before, when I'm looking at my schedule for the day, I find a slot and I actually put this fuel up on my calendar. And I promise you, if you consistently do 10 to 20 minutes of something that fuels you, it'll dramatically boost your energy and your happiness and your joy. You cannot feel happier if you're exhausted and depleted all the time. All right, acceptance, gratitude, self-care, intentional kindness is the next skill. Intentional kindness. We human beings cannot feel happy alone. We are social beings. We are meant to be connected. Do you know there's a study that Harvard University has done for the last 75 years where they've tracked the same group of people, and every year they check in with them on their health, on their lives, on their happiness. Do you know consistently the one thing that the happiest people in that group have in common? Do you know what it is? It is having close personal relationships that are warm and kind. That's how powerful it is. Our happiness as human beings is also social happiness. We need that feeling that we belong, right? That someone cares about us, that we care about someone else. And I think the best way to fuel those close relationships is by practicing intentional kindness. What is intentional kindness? I gotta tell you guys, I worked on these little stick figures for like half an hour. Because I wanted them to be friendly. And yes, I just gotta share. So what is intentional kindness? It is not complicated. It is doing something to connect with or to help or elevate another person and not expect anything in return. That's often the harder part. And you know, I've been teaching this and speaking about this and practicing this for years, and a couple years ago I realized that I actually wasn't practicing what I was teaching. Because when I would do something kind, there was still something else I expected. Anyone have a guess for what we might expect when we do something kind? A thank you. A thank you. So being genuinely kind is not about getting anything in return. Every time you do something kind, your brain releases oxytocin. Oxytocin is known as a hug hormone. When you hug someone, your brain floods with oxytocin. It feels great. So every time you do something kind, your brain rewards you with feeling good. That's why intentional kindness is not about anything you get back. It's just the great feeling of being kind. And I think it's so powerful because when you do something kind, it's just simply sharing a piece of you and your humanity with another person. And there's so many ways to be kind. You can check in with someone. You can send someone a funny gif if they're down. You can just listen to someone. I think listening is such a wonderful act of kindness. Think about how you feel when someone's really listening to you. And I mean really listening. They're not looking at their phone. They're not jumping in, right? I'm going to tell you one of my favorite ways to practice kindness. Enthusiastically greeting people. If you're ever on a call with me, and I hope the Scentsy team who's watching can affirm this, I make it a point before I meet someone or before I get on a call, I make it a point to really bring my genuine enthusiasm. Because your enthusiasm is contagious. Think about when someone is enthusiastic, how great it feels. So that's a small act of kindness that all of you can do. I mean, I dare you. When you go back home, when you greet your family, I dare you to be like, hi! I miss you so much! I am so happy to see you! I mean, they might look at you a little weird, I get it. But that's okay, I dare you. Because very often we get busy, right? We're in the busy, so we see a friend or we see our family like, hey, how are you? But what would happen if you paused and you were really enthusiastic? I dare you, and I'm gonna share my email in a little bit. I want to hear how it went, all right? I want to hear the responses you get. So, intentional kindness, all right, acceptance, gratitude, self-care, intentional kindness. Our fifth happier skill is the bigger why. The bigger why is really about connecting to your sense of purpose. It is not possible to live a happier life if you don't feel a sense of purpose. But your sense of purpose, it's not somewhere out there. I think often we think I have to go find my sense of purpose. Your sense of purpose is actually right here in your day. Because the way that we derive a sense of purpose is when we connect what we do to how it helps someone else. When you connect what you do to how it contributes to someone else. Remember what I said at the beginning, you are all joy spreaders. So what you do actually helps other people feel joy. How meaningful is that? I want to share with you my absolute favorite study that really kind of shifted my whole mindset on this. So it was done several years ago, and researchers went into a large hospital system in Connecticut. They wanted to understand how janitors, who I think we can agree have pretty menial jobs, they wanted to understand how do they derive any satisfaction from their work. And they looked at everything. They looked at how much money they were making, how long they'd been there, they couldn't find it. So they started to sit down with each janitor and they would ask them a simple question. Please tell me what you do for work. And they found something remarkable. The janitors who had the lowest job satisfaction scores would say things like, I clean the floor, I clean the windows, I take out the garbage. They talked about the tasks they did as part of their job. The janitors who had the highest job satisfaction would say things like, I help patients get better. Or I help the families that come to visit feel a little bit better. They focused on the why. Think about how powerful that is. They did the same exact job. But the janitors who focused on how the things they were doing actually helped someone else, they enjoyed their job more. That's the power of connecting to your bigger why. That's the power of thinking about this thing I'm doing, maybe this annoying thing I'm doing, maybe this frustrating thing I'm doing. How does it help someone else? How does it contribute to someone else? Do you know the last thing I think about before I go on any stage, I stand backstage, and the last thing I think about to fuel myself to be at my best with all of you, I think about there's someone in that audience who needs to hear what I have to say, and I'm going out on that stage to help that person. That's why I'm here. Now, I don't know who that person is. I hope it's all of you. But just doing that, connecting to my purpose, it unleashes my full capacity. When you feel connected to your purpose, you perform at your best in every way. You have all of your awesomeness to share. So it is really powerful. So I want to give you an awesome little practice that I made up to actually make this concrete. I call this the to-do list makeover, okay? Warning, you might fall in love with your to-do list after doing this. I know this is a tall order, but it might happen. Here's what I want you to do. Look at your to-do list. You don't have to do it for every to-do. Pick a couple that maybe, you know those to-dos that you just keep writing the same thing every day for like weeks? We all have that. Okay, take that one. And ask yourself, who does this help? Like when I get this done, who does this help? And answer the question. Going grocery shopping, well, does it help you create a nutritious meal for your family? Finishing some annoying report for work, does it help your teammates? Does it help your organization? Think about that, and I promise you, when you actually answer like, oh, this is how it helps, the to-do will still be there. Okay, I'm sorry. I don't have magic, I can't take it off. But I promise you that you will be fueled with so much energy and motivation to actually get it done, because you're now not just getting something done. You're now doing something so that you may contribute to someone else, and you're now fueled with your sense of purpose. So these are your 5 happier skills: acceptance, gratitude, self-care, intentional kindness, and the bigger why. And the most important thing is that you practice. Practice, practice, practice. Because that's why I talk about happiness as a skill. Like any other skill, if you practice, it will improve. If you want to become a better writer, what do? You write. If you want to feel happier, you practice these skills. And that's another huge lesson that I learned on my journey. I thought when I was feeling really burnt out, I thought, okay, I failed at this life. I have to like run away to Nepal and meditate for 10 years to feel better. Yeah, you can laugh at me. That's pretty dramatic. Well, I didn't do that. I still have the same house and the same mortgage and the same responsibilities and my family and all the things. I didn't have to make any grand changes. I just had to practice these skills. And that's a huge thing. You don't have to make dramatic life changes to feel happier. You have to practice these happier skills in small ways consistently. And I really want to help you practice. And I'm going to share a way, something I created to help you do it. But I want to add a bonus skill before we get there. I want to encourage you to practice your joy, to do things that bring you joy. Your joy is never frivolous. Your joy is your life fuel. We often dismiss joy. We think it's something, oh, I got my responsibilities, I got to take care of my family, maybe then I'll do something. No, your joy is never frivolous. It is what gives you that life energy, that hope, that motivation, that resilience to do all the things you want to do. You know, I have always wanted to paint my whole life, but I never let myself because it felt indulgent. You know, do you ever feel like that? Like, I don't know, like a luxury I didn't deserve. It didn't have anything to do with achieving or taking care of my family, so I was like, nah, seems like a waste of time. Do you ever feel that way about something that's just for you? I felt really selfish, so I didn't do it. And then after I burnt out, I couldn't do much. I had to really pause my life to heal. And I was turning 40 that year, and with a lot of encouragement from my best friend, I said, okay, fine. And I decided to sign up for a workshop in Tuscany to go and watercolor paint. Why Tuscany? All right, another movie reference. Under the Tuscan Sun, how many of you are familiar? All right, so for all of you who may not know, it's a movie, what's her name, Diane Lane, is she in that? Yeah, so she goes, her life is terrible, so she goes to Tuscany and really flourishes. And she's like, there's a lot of scenes she's walking around and long, flowy dresses, and I just envisioned myself like, oh, I'm gonna stand there in a field of sunflowers and paint. Okay, I didn't do any of that. But I went to Tuscany and I did this watercolor workshop and I learned a really important lesson. You should always read the fine print. Because it turned out it was a workshop for professional watercolor artists.
Oh no.
Now the good news was they were all in their 70s and they were from the United Kingdom. So the whole time they just spent time making fun of my American accent. Which to this refugee who learned to speak English from scratch was the greatest thing ever. So they didn't really notice that I didn't know what I was doing, but I fell in love with painting and I started to paint and I thought I'd share with you some photos of me painting. But I'm telling you this because when I started to give myself permission to create, to paint, to do something that brought me joy, not only did it help me heal, but it also, my joy spread to everyone around me. My husband, my daughter, my family, it was healing them. It went further, it started to spread to my friends. It started to, I share my art with my audiences and I just saw a bunch of you smile. But I wanted to share this photo because this is me, a photographer snapped it with all my art. This is my joy. And the big lesson I learned is when I allowed myself to practice my joy, it rippled to everyone around me. And I want you to take that away. When you fuel your happiness, when you fuel your joy, it ripples to everyone around you. Your happiness is never selfish. Your joy is never selfish. When you feel joy, when you feel happiness, so does everyone you interact with. Yeah! Because as human beings, our emotions are contagious. Do you know that if you have a friend who is happier, you're 25% more likely to be happier yourself? Now here's a conundrum. If you have a neighbor who's happier, you're 35% more likely to be happier. But if your spouse is happier, you're only 10% more likely. I'm gonna leave no comment about this because I really want us to have a good experience. I actually can't explain it, but our emotions are contagious. Your joy is contagious, so is your stress. And that was a painful thing that I had to learn after my burnout. In my effort to prioritize my team at work or my family and not do things that brought me joy, I was actually hurting them. Because I used to kind of bring this really heavy cloud of stress and anxiety and snapping to them. By the way, we all have what I call a stress tell, a tell that you're really stressed out. Mine is Snappy Nataly. When I have not been investing in my self-care, when I haven't done anything to fuel my joy, I get snappy. All right? Get really honest with yourself for a moment. What is the tell of your stress? And the reason I want you to do that is to remember that your happiness is never selfish. When you fuel yourself, you have so much more to give to others. And the most important thing, again, is to practice. Your mini fuel up, 10 minutes a day to fuel yourself. Something that brings you joy, a gratitude practice, doing something kind for someone else. These are really simple things, but they have a huge impact on how you feel. So I mentioned that I want to help you practice. So I made something for you. All right, I made you a 5-day emotional fitness challenge where every day you get a short video, it's under 2 minutes, on each of the skills and a practice. So a simple way to connect to it is you text the word awesome to 66866. So type in 66866 in your phone and then text the word awesome. You'll immediately have a way to get an email from me with a link. Messaging rates apply. I don't know, I can't get that voice. I really want to get that voice. And I was telling the team before, I wanted to create this challenge for a while because the thing that I really want to leave you with, hopefully I've inspired you, hopefully I've motivated you, but I really want to help you keep practicing. And so I've had this idea for a challenge for a while, and I said to my team when we knew I was going to speak here, all right, the 28th, that's our deadline. So you guys are the first to get it. Woo! Nothing to no one. I got you. No worries. You can go to my website, NatalyKogan.com. You can subscribe there. You can send me an email. This is my personal email address. I told you before I was going to share it. I want to hear from you. I love hearing from you. What are you practicing? Where are you stuck? Did you enthusiastically greet your family and they thought you were weird? I really want to connect with you, and this is also my social handle, and my book is The Awesome Human Project. Practice, practice, practice. That is the biggest thing that I learned. It's not about I'll be happy when I achieve something. It is not about I'll be happy when something amazing happens. Those things make a difference. They do make us happy. I'm not against achievement. I'm not against making things happen. But remember, adaptability and negativity bias, it will never last. I want to give you an example that I think resonates. Do you ever plan a vacation that you just cannot wait for, like an amazing trip, right? Amazing trip, yeah, right? Think about how excited you are when you plan it. It's so great. It's like every time you think about it, you get jazzed up. And then you take a vacation, and it's good. But somehow planning it was more exciting. Does that ever happen? That's a real thing. That's your brain being really excited about something, and when it happens, it's like, oh yeah, that vacation. Again, I'm telling you this to encourage you to make a commitment to nourishing your happiness and your joy on the inside. To nourishing yourself through acceptance and gratitude and intentional kindness and self-care and connecting to yourself to purpose. Because when you do that on a daily basis, it gives you this incredible, not just you feel good, but you have this toolkit that when life gets challenging, and life gets challenging a lot, that you have something that you can practice to fuel yourself. So I want to ask you a question. Are you ready to make a commitment to practice your happier skills? Small ways to cultivate your joy, small ways that you practice your happier skills make a huge difference. But here's something I want you to remember. I hope you're all, and you showed me, you're inspired, you're motivated, you're committed. But I know in a week or so, life will get busy again and challenging. Someone just gave me a look here. What do you mean in a week or so? In an hour or so? I'm with you. And it's easy for that inspiration maybe to wear off, to get busy again, to forget. So I want you to remember that when you make a commitment to practice your happier skills, you're not just making it to yourself. You're making that commitment to each other. You're making that commitment to every single person you interact with. You're making that commitment to every single person you love. Because when you fuel your happiness, you have so much more to give. When you fuel your joy, you spread that joy to others. And remember, you are awesome humans. You have something so unique and meaningful that you contribute on a daily basis. And in order to do it for a really long time, you have to honor your humanness. So one more time, are you ready to make a commitment to your happier skills?